Well, we welcome you back live to the Euroformula Open Championship in a weekend of such significance. It all comes down to this, everybody. A warm welcome to you on a cold start to this Italian weekend here at the Temple of Speed. And Timur Kaharczyk currently leads the championship on 323 points with high humidity, 14-degree track temperature, 11-degree air temp. We've had a little bit of activity this morning with the bronze test in the International GT Open. That has laid down some rubber onto the track, but that somewhat conflicts the Pirelli tyres that the drivers are donning here in the Euroformula Open Championship. But we have one final qualifying session to sign off for 2025 with 3 races to bring you. And as I said, Timur Kaharczyk, 323 points as it stands. Currently ahead of Michael Shin. Again, though, Shin only on 298, has just recently also had his drive confirmed for FIA Formula 3, moving to the high-tech team. Evan David, of course, moving into FIA Formula 3 territory as well with IX Racing. He stands on 293 points and 5 points back from Michael Shin heading into the weekend. Timur Kaharczyk, though, with all the cards in his favour right now, the only driver this season so far to break 300 points this campaign, and he has started the weekend beautifully, going fastest in FP1. He went fastest in the first private test and also fastest in FP2 as well. But can he solidify a blanket weekend? It all starts here in qualifying. If he can muster pole position, it will give him a great chance. George Morgan here in the commentary box once again, alongside me, Chris Stevens.
Hello, George. Yes, one last weekend here in the Euroformula Open Championship for 2025. Many of the drivers moving on to pastures green, as you alluded to, many making the step up to FIA Formula 3. Timur Kaharczyk just been announced for the Macau Grand Prix as well with Van Amersfoort. I find that to be an incredibly brave move. Your first race in a Formula 3 car, and it's going to be on the streets of Macau, and that is going to be a hugely entertaining watch. And of course, there'll be many Euroformula alumni in that field as well. But it's 79 points up for grabs here this weekend. Obviously, 25 points for each of the wins, and we have a bonus point for pole position and the fastest lap in each of the 3 races as well. So there's still an awful lot to play for. Timur hasn't got it, all sewed up just yet. He needs a clean weekend, but it's definitely his to lose, I would say, going into this one. We've got a few other drivers that are going to be moving on to other series as well, potentially, and an awful lot still at play, of course, as well. The Rookie Championship sewn up for Evan David. Very relaxed here. He just wants to secure his top 3 place in the championship. He's already got his seat for next year confirmed, so whether he wins or loses this, I don't think it makes much difference to him.
But ultimately, Timur Kaharczyk has been here before. He has run this road. Obviously, last campaign when he was racing in single-seaters, it was, of course, with the GB3 Championship, narrowly missing out on that championship title. Yeah. It all fell apart in the very last moment, but he has now put himself in a position where he can strike at the very top, produce a championship season-winning performance. If he can do that here at Monza, after speaking to him yesterday, he definitely seems calm, cool, and collected himself as well. With only one directive, he wants to get this done in race 2. Of course, it's coming up today. Obviously, it's going to be a big mystery whether he can do that, but he is very keen to seal the deal on this title very early on.
Yeah, it's a slightly different schedule for this weekend to accommodate for the GT Open 500-kilometer finale race tomorrow. So it's 2 races today as opposed to the usual 1, and then 2 races on Sunday. So a busy schedule for these youngsters. But by the end of the day, we could crown Timur Kaharczyk the Euroformula Open champion of 2025. Some new faces here this weekend over at Nielsen Racing. Taxiarchis Kolovos, in his first ever car race, straight out of karting into this sort of sub-Formula 3 championship. Incredibly bold, brave, and beautiful maneuver. You might have heard of his dad, Georgios Kolovos, who races in LMP2 over in the European Le Mans Series. I believe he's actually competing this weekend in Portimao. But 16-year-old Greek driver is in the number 7 car from Nielsen Racing. Luca Visceranu also joining the Nielsen Racing squad. We saw him fill in for Fernando Barrichello back at the Red Bull Ring for Motor Park when young FIFO was making his FIA Formula 3 debut at this circuit, in fact.
Yeah, absolutely right. Also got himself a confirmed drive for next year as well. Great to see the drivers stepping up ahead of another FIA Formula 3 season. And once again, the Euroformula Open Championship providing the drivers for that too. Tim McGarchick now making his way, just warming up the tyres, getting ready for the initial laps as we get the ball rolling. Rui Hengye currently on top, Enzo Ye, also known as well, 1:59.61. Expect these times to come cascading down. The temperature on track still relatively low. I would expect us to see the faster times right at the very end of the session.
Yeah, they're just bedding in a set of tyres at this point, George. The degradation here is so low because there's not an awful lot of, high-speed energy being put through the Pirelli tyres. It's a pretty new surface as well. Obviously, there was big talk last year about this brand spanking new surface. So it's really only thermal degradation that goes through the tyre. And that should mean that we only see one proper push run in this qualifying session. And everybody should have, as near as makes no difference, brand new tyres for all three races. So they might just be bedding in a set of tyres at the moment. They may well still change them for the second set, but they'll put minimal miles on the first set.
I mean, I remember speaking to Michael Sheen yesterday, and he was noting to me, saying, George, are you ready for chaos? I absolutely am. I think we're going to be in for elbows-out action.
We do get some wacky races here at Monza, don't we?
Well, we do. I mean, I must say one man who has really funneled his inner zen around this circuit is Yevon David. Of course, if you remember, marked his debut in the Euroformula Open Championship at this very circuit last year. He's currently going purple in the first two sectors at the moment. It's the Sri Lankan Lion, who's got a lot of fans. Obviously, we mentioned the main sports bar as well last night. Of course, I'd imagine they're tuning in once again as we watch the Sri Lankan Lion roar across the line once more, and this time embeds the fastest time of qualifying so far with a 1:43.951. Recently, part of a Sky Sports F1 sort of an insight they recently unveiled. Of course, Yevon's pursuit for F1 feeder series success, of course, like we said, already confirmed for AIX Racing next campaign. So we'll be following in the footsteps of Brad Benavides, last season's champion.
I think AIX have got all Euroformula alumni next year, haven't they?
They have,
FIFO,
yes.
Yevon and Brad, of course.
Yeah. So quite a handy tidbit. They're clearly big fans of the championship, obviously.
Clearly, there's someone in that team who's been watching along.
Yeah, brilliant. Obviously, we wish Yevon David all the very best as well in his pursuits upwards, much like FIFO Barrichello, whose father Rubens is, of course, here. If you date back to last year as well, Rubens also ran in last season's International GT Open weekend here at Monza and managed to pull together the fastest lap around a track where, at the time, he held the lap record. And he just obviously let us know late yesterday that Lando Norris breached his lap record, his record lap. But I said, well, you did it first, Rubens.
The 50-year-old rookie.
Yeah, the 50-year-old rookie.
You saw that video on the GT Open socials. It was a heck of a moment from last year when Fernando and Rubens embraced one another after that rather spectacular effort. Of course, FIFO's brother competing in the World Endurance Championship as well, of course, as well. They've been hugely successful family, of course, and actually, I was talking to Nicola Prost last weekend as well, and his boy's just coming through karting at the moment as well. So who knows? A third-generation Prost might be coming through the ranks as well. I do love seeing the sons and the daughters and the young stars of all of our favourites from our childhoods starting to come through the ranks. And Fernando's well on his way there, moving up to Formula 3 for next year.
Yeah, and the familiar green livery that he's been embracing all season long. Of course, took a stop out of the Euroformula Open Championship earlier on this campaign to set his affairs in order for FIA Formula 3 action, and has really flourished this campaign. Has Fernando Barrichello in the extended, he has pulled together some really decent points finishes. Obviously, a win back at Paul Ricard meant the world to him earlier in the campaign in race 2. He also netted together another podium that weekend, went first to third as well in race 3. And 2 third places at Barcelona as well. So he's had a pretty good season. He had a third also at Spa-Francorchamps, but now making his way down the Seraglio Straight with Sri Lankan Yevon David. He's sat just in behind him, second in the timing tower now, because Enzo Ye on his return to the Euroformula is back on top with his own 1:43 and 8:14. Just over a tenth and a quarter faster than Yevon David so far. Purple middle sector though for Yevon David as Ed Pearson marches to the top and broke the hoodoo from last time as well, Chris. Obviously managed to take a first victory since Portimao back at Barcelona last time.
Yeah, it was obviously a stunning start to the campaign for Nilsson Racing, winning on debut with Ed Pearson, but has been in a bit of a rut since then, just not really able to maximise the performance. But great to see Ed and the Nilsson squad back out on the top step of the podium. Of course, Nilsson Racing rebranding for next year, we believe. So we're eagerly anticipating news on what the future of this single-seater program, which is brand new for this year from Nilsson Racing, is going to look like. And we can ride on board with the championship leader. He's got our onboard camera for this weekend, going to be providing us with lots of exciting shots. We're right on board with him as he heads down towards the first chicane, braking just before the 100-meter board and running just ever so slightly wide of that first curb, having to correct a little bit of oversteer on the exit as well. There's a big wide curb there, but you don't really want to use it, not in these very low-slung single-seater cars, keeping it right and tight through the Curva Grande, and then up towards the second chicane. Is he going to brake again? I think just shy of the 100-meter board again. A little bit more curb that time. You can use a little bit more on the left-hand side of the exit curb there, and up towards the Lesmos. Got to be loads of fun in a car like this. Barely touch the brake pedal going into the first Lesmo, and this is where you've got to be a little bit cautious of track limits, because you can breach them on the exit here, wrestling that PVM car through there, but doing a very nice job indeed. Now we've got a long blast once again up towards Ascari. He is giving his teammate a little bit of a tow there as well, which is Enzo Ye in the third of the BVM cars. And it's only the second weekend where they've had 3 cars on the grid. Big expanded effort from BVM Racing. Expanded effort from Nilsson as well, anticipated potentially as well with their rebrand, and even a new team potentially joining for next year. So the future of Euroformula looking very, very good. And ultimately, Timic bails out of this lap and lets Enzo Ye have a clear run through the Alboreto curve.
Yeah, now see Enzo Ye, who did hold the fastest time for a brief moment. Currently down in 7th place, goes for fastest here this time. Evan David back on top ahead of teammate Fifo Barrichello. Familaro goes 8th fastest ahead of Viscerano, who drops down to 9th. Of course, we have got 5 rookie drivers making up this 12-car classification. Rookie status for Evan David, of course, Enzo Ye, Everett Stack, as well as Viscerano and Kolovos in his first start in the Euroformula Open Championship, and indeed in F3 and single-seater machinery straight out of karting, as now we watch Kaharczyk again. Now this time might go for that push run now that he has got essentially the slipstream, though Evan David going purple inside that first sector, and in fact finding just nearly 4/10 on top of his last fastest time. So definitely looking really dialed in is our championship contender, currently sat down 3rd place in the championship, entering the weekend on 293 points. After netting successive wins, he took 2 victories back at Portimao to open up the season. Let's see if he can end the season strongly, as well as the Delta continues to improve with 6 minutes and 40 to go. He's just found over half a second inside that middle sector, now on top of his personal best time, as now Yevon gets a nice tow off Fifo Barrichello, who ultimately dives out of his way to give him the free run down through towards Curva Parabolica. Flying through this last corner this time around. Let's see whether he can find the exit speed here, the Sri Lankan Lion, to roar himself back to the top and then some, with Barrichello currently back in 2nd place and nearly 3/10 behind him already.
Wow.
Evan David plants a mighty 1:42.340 as now the times continue to crumble.
Yeah, we're into the crunch time now. Still not the fastest time of the weekend. That would be 42.222 from Timic in FP2, but starting to see those push laps come into the foray now after a really slow build and getting the tyres into the perfect window. It is a cool, crisp morning, as you mentioned at the top of the show, George. It's a track temperature of just 15 degrees out there, so they've had to work hard building the temperature into these Pirelli tyres. Evan David not improving in the first sector on this lap, but Michael Shin is setting some personal bests out there in the first 2 sectors. He is making his way down the back straight towards the Curva Alboreto, getting a handy tow from Jose Garfias, who is still technically in championship contention, but a real outside shot would need the top 3 to have some real major dramas in all of the races, and for Jose to really clean up out there in terms of scoring points. There's Michael Shin on his way to Formula 3 with high-tech next year, and where does this lap put him? On the front row provisionally, but still half a second down on Yevon David.
Yeah, 4.5 tenths. Obviously, the track conditions in comparison to free practice largely probably cooler this morning than what we've had all weekend long, because it was 11 degrees recorded in terms of what we were seeing this morning. So we'll see.
Normally, that's what you want, though. It's like, someone's gone through the chicane. Ed Pearson, who's gone straight through the chicane, having to take the safety route through the bollards. Oh, big look up here from the 44 of Diego Della Torre, and going through the gravel at Ascari as well. So not super ideal for the young Mexican, but doesn't seem like much harm was done there.
No. Speed trap fastest man, Ed Pearson so far. Obviously, I wonder whether that might be a collusion, maybe obviously to do with the outbraking, perhaps coming through in towards the first corner.
You do have to worry about that, don't you? Because he's about 5 or 6 kilometres quicker than anyone else in the speed trap, which might have something to do with him outbraking himself into the first corner.
It's very possible. Came in probably just a little bit too hot, and obviously with the track not necessarily up to temperature, you're more prone to perhaps, if you do leave it late, falling askew of it. As we now watch Michael Shin making his way through Ascari again this time. We've got Michael Shin currently recording 34.2s in the first sector. That is not as fast as Yevon David at the moment on this lap, and as you can see, certainly some way off the delta that David has already recorded, but we're now coming into the final 3.5 minutes, so this is where crunch time is going to come into play. Michael Shin just building up ready for this last soiree that we're going to be having around this Monza track. But everyone goes purple. Everyone
is being so well behaved with the slipstream, aren't they? All the teammates are working together incredibly well, and there's no one, not doing it correctly or not giving enough of a toe. They're all really playing ball out there at the moment. And yes, so it's Gaharczyk fastest in the first sector, but Yevon David with a very good middle sector, getting a toe from Fernando Barrichello as well, exactly the right part of the racetrack with a clear run through the Alboreto curve. Oh, bit of oversteer on the way into that final corner though. That hug the left-hand side of the racetrack and then pull it right towards the timing line. And is this going to be an improvement for Yevon David? No, not quite. He lost a lot of time in that final corner there. Gaharczyk also with a good middle sector. It's not the fastest, but it is an improvement for him. Here he is coming up towards the timing line now, and he goes second fastest and just under 0.3 of a second away from Yevon David. And the top three, all of them championship contenders as well, coming into the weekend. Yevon David, Timo Gaharczyk, Michael Shin, not quite in championship order. Obviously, Gaharczyk will be hoping to stick his car ahead of Yevon David, but that time, by the looks of it, it's going to be very difficult to knuckle down upon. But we've got 2 minutes left here in the session. Let's see now whether there's more to gain. They might do a cool run this time, maybe prepare for one final dance the next time around, but we'll keep our eyes panned on the deltas for you folks as Gaharczyk comes down through towards the Roger chicane. A reminder for you, 3-2-3 in terms of points at the top. At the moment, Enzo going purple inside the middle first sector so far. It's green in the first two sectors for Michael Shin. He's certainly not finished just yet. 33.9 inside sector 1. It's a 34.054 inside that middle sector as well. So he's doing all the right things, Michael Shin, right now. But whether he can bring himself into the window of Yevon David and Timo Gaharczyk is still remains to be seen. Potentially a bit of traffic there as Kolovos breaks up big time going into Ascari. Quick dip into the gravel. No real harm done there. Remember, he is straight out of karting, these young Kolovos. So
some weekend to learn, isn't it?
It's going to be a big learning experience for him, keeping well out of the ways the BVM teammates will blast down the back straight. Timic giving the toe to Enzo Ye, who of course was fastest in the middle sector. It wasn't an improvement in the middle sector for Enzo though. And I don't think he's really pushing on through the final corner. And in fact, I thought he was coming into the pits there for a moment. So, but he's giving Timic a toe for this final lap.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to this, folks. Enzo positioning the car.
A lot of porpoising there on Enzo's car.
It's the rear suspension looking just a little bit wobbly, heading down towards turn 1.
Like an early ground effect Formula 1 car, that is.
Well, we saw similar things, didn't we, with the new regulations as they came out not too long ago.
Oh, thank goodness we're getting rid of those.
It was I must say, the hot topic, I think, in terms of the news. We'll take a look at Kolovos's moment at Ascari, just overextending a little bit, but like used to rightly say, Chris, at the end of the day, he is on a learning curve this weekend, as now Enzo, plows through the Roger chicane, and with Timo Kaharczyk on his tail, looking to open up, and Kaharczyk has gone purple inside the first sector. The time is now at 0. To lay down the best times, you must find it now. 88 thousandths upon Yevon David's fastest lap so far for 1:42.340. The championship leader is going for pole position. Yevon David doing the same, though. He has found an almighty 4 and near 3/4 tenths on top of his best time. So both of them are going at it. Timo Kaharczyk just finding 37 thousandths on top of the best time now on this current lap. Yevon David now pulling ahead of teammate Fernando Barrichello, who once again offers that slipstream, that vital slipstream, heading down into Curva Alboreto. The Sri Lankan Lion in a bit of landing, a top time here in qualifying to bring the sword up against Timo Kaharczyk. Will cross the line and go fastest once again with a mighty 1:41.842. And dare I say, that might not yet be beaten, but we're yet to see Kaharczyk come across the line. Let's wait and see. Here's the Polish superstar now. It's not enough. A 1:42.536, an improvement, but not enough for pole. It is near 7/10 of a second. Yevon David on pole here in the Euroformula Open Championship in our final weekend here in 2025 here at Monza.
Back-to-back pole positions after doing so in Barcelona, his 3rd of the season. Well, what a mighty, mighty lap there for Yevon David. I know he had a bit of a toe, but they were all playing games out there with it. That is a stonking lap from the young Sri Lankan.
It was fantastic, to say the least, on his part. Obviously, I'm sure there'll be a big pat on the back for Fernando Barrichello. Let's run through the qualifying results. Yevon David will start on pole position ahead of our first race of the Monza weekend. And what a start to our final darts here in the Euroformula Open Championship. Timo Kaharczyk in 2nd place. The championship leader could not quite get close enough. Michael Shin in 3rd will start in the 2nd row alongside Enzo. His best qualifying performance of the season so far. Jose Garfias in 5th. Alessandro Famolaro in 6th. Then we have Fernando Barrichello in 7th. Ed Pearson 8th. Everett Stack in 9th. Diogo Della Torre down in 10th place. And then we have Luca Visaranu and Taxartis Kolovos in 12th place as well. So, what a way to kick things off. Top 3 in qualifying, all fighting for the championship. Of course, Yevon David, who arrived in 3rd in the championship on 293. Well, you can now add 1 on that to make it 294. But, of course, needs to try and break past Michael Shin and Timo Kaharczyk in order to land this title. But there is still big points left on the table. Despite the points gap being the way it is, nothing is impossible. Anyone, as they say in the world of sport, is beatable. Yevon David is going to prove, and well, certainly prove that this weekend. And certainly based on what we saw last year at Monza, he knows how to get it done at the Italian circuit.
Top 3 in the championship. Linus Stern, the top 3 on the grid, and of course they'll be that way for race 3 as well. So it's Alessandro Famolaro who'll be starting on reverse grid pole in race 3 tomorrow, because that's based off the qualifying results with Jose Garfias on the front row. But still the top 3 in the championship, Linus Stern for that grid. And race 1 this afternoon will set the grid for race 2 as well, with a reverse grid there as well. But congratulations already being shared.
It's Monza and Yevon David, they say, and it certainly is. I mean, this is a track where he has sailed to the front already, made a real mark in his debut appearance in this championship last year, as now he hops out of the chassis, out of the car. Will, of course, get ready for race 1 coming up later on this afternoon. But whilst, of course, it may not provide any significance in terms of major points, obviously, where it comes to qualifying, it can be oh so important heading in to a championship winning weekend, of course. But a lot of work to be done over the next 3 races.
He just really exploded on the scene last year, didn't he?
He did.
Was anonymous in Spanish F4, but has really been given an opportunity to showcase what he can do. I remember the team saying, we've got this kid from Sri Lanka joining for the final race, and I don't know what they've been doing with him in Spanish F4, but trust me, this kid is a proper talent.
He went on a 7-podium streak in his first, well, it was his first 2 rounds of racing in this championship, plus the 1 race at Spa. It all fell apart, though, really, in that first race at Spa. That was where he got the 4th place, which unfortunately broke the streak, but no less, he is a fabulous talent, and I'm sure he'll look to big things in FIA Formula 3. Definitely packs the talent and the raw ability. Let's run through the top three. Michael Shin in third place gave a great account of himself. Of course, currently sat P2 in the championship. Be looking to close the points gap on Timet Kaharczyk in race 1. There is Kaharczyk right now, second now, looking ahead to the weekend. Will be joining Yevon David on the front row, the championship leader. But it's Yevon David. They couldn't stop him in qualifying. Fastest here at Monza as we look ahead to our final weekend.
Yevon David, pole position at Monza. It's always nice, of course, but you are spicing up this final and decisive round.
Absolutely, you know, we always go to the end, and third pole position of the year, so very happy with it. We got 3 races now to focus on, and I'm taking it race by race, focusing on what we need to do. We executed Qualy, now I'll focus on race 1.
And this morning, everything perfect.
Yeah, I mean, we executed well. You know, it's never perfect, so of course there's going to be a little bit to find, but no, definitely executed well to be P1, and the lap felt very good. We did a good job with the team, you know, with my teammate FIFO as well, working together, and very happy with the execution.
Excellent. Well done, and I'm sure we are going to have 2 great races today.
Absolutely, it's going to be very interesting. Thank you.
Well done.
So Yevon David on top, 4 pole positions this season. Join us later on as we bring you 2 races in the Euroformula. But from all of us here, goodbye.